Good morning to my fellow Guarans, and congratulations on having a very successful convention. As we're seeing in year 2022, the very first year since our pandemic, we are learning so many different things about ourselves and each other. We are experiencing a time in history that has never been experienced before, where we are having our senses stretched, we are having our opportunities changed, and many people that didn't make it to this side of 2022. We've also seen our community grow stronger, our world become smaller, opportunities arise, and achievements taken. For as much as we lost in the past couple of years being the pandemic, we've gained the most valuable thing: a sense of relativity, a sense of perspective, an opportunity to grow together. We've also seen plenty of setbacks. Well, there's folks who aren't able to be alive at this point. People who've been unable to have their plans canceled as they try to go back to Nigeria or other locations. People who've lost their jobs. But we also gained tremendously and achieved tremendously and grew as a people. And I can think of no more resilient people than us Guarans. This is U.S. Representative Dr. Oye Wolewa, and I'm very pleased and honored to be giving this address to you all at this year's convention. But before I could talk a little bit about what I wanted to discuss for this convention, and about being more and doing more, it's important to discuss my own history. You see, I'm a second generation Nigerian American. My mother was born in Oyo State, but my father was born in Kwara State, a village and town called Umuaran, where he was the first of his family to go to school, formal education, and came to the United States to pursue that. He and my mom met in the United States, had 5 children, and instilled in all of us 3 things. Number 1 is an identity. As I often say, my mom and dad gave me a Yoruba first name, middle name, and a Yoruba last name. I had nowhere to hide. They gave me a sense of identity, knowing what my culture is, knowing where I've come from, making sure folks not only know my name, but know my background. Number 2, a deep sense of professionalism. Us Guarans, we excel academically, we excel financially, we excel professionally, and they made sure that I continue that effort. But number 3, and possibly most importantly, they've given me that ingenuity. They give me that push to be part of the community. That your family isn't the people you're born to, but the people that interact with you, and the people that inspire you, and the people that you interact with, and the people you inspire. From day 1 all the way to getting my pharmacy degree at age 24, I've been able to apply these things, my identity, apply these things like my professionalism, and most importantly, be able to provide for my community at a time where it wasn't expected of me. Moved to Washington, D.C. not too long after. Started being involved in the community. I saw kids that looked like me, but didn't have my background, didn't have that push from a younger age, and decided to use that as well. I started volunteering in elementary schools, getting kids interested in science. I started getting involved in neighborhood health initiatives as a pharmacist to make sure those in my neighborhood was cared after. I started speaking up to provide for those who don't have a voice, and led me to think of doing it at a bigger level. Soon after, I decided to run for the U.S. representative seat in Washington, D.C., to discuss D.C. statehood, to discuss having the DC voice on a national level. What ended up happening was my background, my pedigree, the things that make Quarans began to illuminate through the community. And as I got closer and closer and closer to the election day, I started to realize that it's not just DC residents who need representation. It's all those that share my background, the second generation Nigerian Americans, the young people who are aspiring to reach office, the scientists and healthcare professionals who don't always see the truth being spoken by their elected officials, the Nigerian Americans who don't see themselves in Congress. So as I won that historic race 2 years ago, and most recently won the primary again a few months ago, I started to realize that although my name could be different on the ballot, although a lot of my constituents may not know how to pronounce my name, first and last name correctly, that what makes me different in background was also my strength. One of the biggest accomplishments in this office was the impact that I've had on other Nigerian Americans. Folks all around this country who've seen this rise politically decided that they want to get involved as well. The ability to mentor and provide guidance to other people running for office. It's not only see them run for office, but also see them win elections has been one of the tantamount achievements of this office. But we didn't just stop there. This role wasn't just symbolic. We've done plenty of things in this office. We've increased access to vaccines in Washington, D.C. when there was a shortage. We sent 3 or 4 resolutions to not only the Congress, but also the Department of Justice to change conditions for folks who are going through hard times. We have gone to different states and introduced DC statehood resolutions through their state legislative assemblies. We're addressing climate change. We're addressing environmental justice. We're doing peace walks. We're doing so many different things to impact lives of DC residents. But this term, we're going beyond that. We're making sure folks from our background also have their sentences heard and have their stories heard and be able to tell what's going on in our communities, whether here or back home, through our own voices. We have recently teamed up with the Nigerian American Lawyers Association to provide valuable expertise and tangibles for folks experiencing immigration. People that look like us being able to access different resources and not get told what belongs to us or what we can access. We are providing for folks who don't hear from their person in their own state. So whether you live in Newark, whether you live in New Jersey, whether you live in Texas, whether you live in Florida, you can reach out to us and we can figure out what can be done. We are being in the cutting edge of office, of electoral politics. That we don't focus on the lack of a congressional seat in DC, the lack of a congressional vote in DC, but we utilize our resources to make an impact on those around us. We're going to step into drug abuse, making sure folks who experience addiction not only survive but thrive. We meet them where they're at, but we also make sure they have a better tomorrow. We are taking in interns, whether they're in high school, whether they're in college, whether they're professionals, they join the team to get experience. And this is what Clara is about. We're about providing opportunities and leaving the door open. But it's not just about me. each and every single person in this convention come up and give a keynote speech. We have doctors, we have lawyers, we have dignitaries, we have so many different people in this audience that can get up, rise, and teach everybody something. We all have our own stories to tell. We have our own experiences to share. And that's what this office is about. We're talking about every single person leaning in, being able to make this office the premier office. We are also asking for you to support not just this office, but each other's dreams. We have young people out here that's trying to create their own businesses. We have young people here that's trying to get into cosmetology. We have young people here that's trying to get into politics. And we have enough resources in our community, whether it's Nigerian or Kwara State, to make sure that our endeavors are fully funded. But we're not just talking about money. We're talking about relationships. Leaning into what we have going on. Allowing us to give briefings on what's happening in Congress. Allow us to give briefings on what's going on in our constituency. Provide that advice. The next thing is to lean on each other. There's no reason why Kwara's money and diaspora money should be flowing through the diasporan business. We have to open the doors for each other to succeed. Because if we don't take care of ourselves, who's going to look out for us? In addition, something that I learned while being in office, we must keep the door open and provide resources for those that came back from us and that share our backgrounds. But just as importantly, those who don't share our background. We must allow our stories and our actions to make our reputations. We must allow people to see who we are before we ask for something. As a Nigerian American candidate, as a Nigerian American representative, living in a city where most of the folks can't pronounce my name, it was my values, it was my example, it was my character, it was the stories of my work ethic that not only allowed me to get elected, but re-elected. The fact that every single day I found earning my role, that's the Kwaran way. That's who we are. So in a simple conclusion, I hope everybody in this room is inspired to not only invest in themselves, but invest in one another. We are Kwarans. We are a community. Whether at home or in our new home, we only have each other. There are those who want to divide us based on where we live or our tribe or what we believe in. But we get much farther together than we ever will apart. Let's invest in ourselves. Let's invest in our children. Let's invest in these new businesses. Let's invest in these new opportunities. Because the world is a smaller place. As we exited COVID, where we had to be around each other virtually and not always physically, let's take every moment seriously. Let's not waste time. Let's dream bigger, aim higher. Support those elected officials that share our background. Support our businesses made by our people. To push Kwarans and the rest of Nigerians and the diaspora to a new length. And let's start today. I wish I could have been there physically, but I will see you all shortly. Thank you.